How you doing? YouTube Live. This is Dr. Paul. I hope you know that because I don't have a production crew. You guys are always on first, so bear with me while I get the rest of these guys up and going, and that is Facebook Live and Instagram Live. So you guys are always first. Yes. I'm glad I'm here. This way I can see if anyone comments on YouTube Live, and then I can start Facebook Live. So, welcome. And I'll wait till you guys pop on. You guys are all popping on. Great. I'm Dr. Paul. Welcome to Healthy Mind. I know that the way I have some of these cameras turned around, you guys see the words backwards. But if you go to YouTube Live, it'll be alright. Welcome, I'm Dr. Paul. Welcome to Healthy Mind. This is Friday. So we've been talking about the healthy mind. And the healthy mind, we know there's three phases. There's the rational mind, the wise mind, emotional mind. We've been going over the rational mind all week. Yes, so I want to bring it all in, bring it into a little bit more organic conversation, not so much the scientific conversation, and I'll tell you why. You know, one of the things that we do as in this time of crisis, and I'm going to write this word here again, or situation. One of the things about, you know what? I forgot to go to Instagram Live. Instagram is not up. Instagram just popped off on me, and I apologize. So, welcome Instagram Live. How you doing? I'll start this over. Welcome to Healthy Mind. If you're catching on, we're going over the rational mind. So I want to bring this into more of organic conversation, like I was talking about before. And I wrote the word crisis up there. The constant I want to go over is the 5 E's: energy, education, environment, expectation, experience. The 5 senses: taste, smell, touch, blah, blah. You guys will know that. And then the brain. Okay, the healthy mind is different than the brain. Good morning, how you doing? We're talking about how to keep a healthy mind in this type of situational crisis. And words have meanings, right? So it's the words we're using, it's how we're developing into our psychic and how it functions in our body. We want to have a healthy life. And to have a healthy life, there's actually 4 phases. Most people know of the mind, the body, and the spirit, but there's also a soul connection, and that's consciousness. So understanding what we are, understanding where we're going, and what our feelings and all the thoughts process that comes into our bodies and how it affects it. If you understand that, and that's all I'm trying to do with the healthy mind, is to help you understand it. Because if you understand it, people can have their own modalities and perceptions, but if you just understand what the healthy mind is, right, in one singular form, what a healthy mind is, then you can understand like what you're working on. I truly believe if people understood what they are, who they are, then they could understand why they're using it. I've said this before in different classes. I said I think people know more about their cars than they do about their bodies. And the reason why they know more about their cars is because, hey, honey, my wife is watching. Great. Wave to you there. Reason why most people know about their cars is because when you're running out of gas, there's an E that goes down. Well, your healthy mind has an E. And when we come to crisis, and the word and how we develop into our crisis, and if you have any conversations or thought process, just throw them on in here, And then, because I'm more going to bring this into a more organic Friday instead of the science part that I did Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I'm trying to bring this all in together. And the reason why words have power, and I'll tell you how I know it works. If someone had asked me, well, Dr. Paul, how do you know it works? And I'll tell you this. When I was a young boy, this is the first time when I was told what a crisis or a situation was. Because most people in good terms or good feelings don't say situation. No one says, you're getting married. It's a situation. When your car gets low on gas, my wife put that out, when your car gets low on gas, the light comes on. Well, we have no light, but we actually do. And if you don't recognize your light, and that's a great point, your light's internal. And if you are unable to recognize your light that's internal within yourself, then you don't know when it's going off. And that light actually is the hippocampus. The hippocampus, and I don't draw very well, but the hippocampus and the amygdala is there, because remember I was talking about the frontal lobe. So if this is the front and this is the temporal, this is the front part of the brain, the frontal and the temporal. So you have these senses in this section right here. And the hippocampus, if your light is going off, that means you're probably producing cortisol. And cortisol, again, do most of your reading on your own. I'm not going to give you more of an anatomy, physiology class, but cortisol, we heard about it, we read about it, we've seen about it, we know that it blocks off things. But what it does, it puts out an adrenal, which shuts down the rational mind. So that you have higher level thinking and you have lower level thinking. And then if you are bouncing between higher level thinking, so what's higher level thinking? You have what you call rational, right? Creativity, right? The lower level thinking is just more reaction into what your memory is. But here's the problem with cortisol. Cortisol shuts off memory. So you just go back to what you normally have done that is more muscle memory. And that's back here, right? And if you go back here, now you're going into the amygdala. The amygdala of the brain, and that's that freeze, flight, or flight. So you don't want to trigger that freeze, flight system if you want to go and stay in what you call the rational mind. And what I mean by crisis or situation, my dad and my mom divorced. My mom got remarried, and she married a man, whatever you want to call him that, but he used to beat my mom. And beating my mom, me and my brother would cover together in the room and listen. And I remember this when I was thinking of talking about, well, how do we know where our rational mind, if it's a crisis? It's the development of a word. It's a development of what you're processing that historical word to be. And if you remember your first crisis or situation, did I know that the man beating my mom was unhealthy? Not as a young boy. But when you grow up, people say, oh man, you were in a situation. That was a crisis. So you start to formulate what these words mean. And words and language have been studied for centuries. And one of my favorite scientists and theologian is Joseph Priestley. Actually, it's kind of funny because he was born on my birthday. And he talked about the material of the mind. And this was in the 17th century. And just thinking about him, thinking about how he would say that things trigger the mind and its sensory perception. So it shuts things down. And if it shuts things down, If it shuts things down, then we don't know how we're responding. Thank you for your comment. If we don't know how we respond, so all this, when we're talking about the sensory and all these, because right here, the frontal lobe, and you have the hearing, you have the speech, you have the seeing, you have these senses, and then you have these 5 E's. The rational mind, cortisol, the hormone that's kicking off, it's blocking a lot of that. And that's why we do our meditation. That's why we do our prayer. It's our inner light. Because our words have focused, historical, active of what the brain does. The only way to change the chemical response of what the brain is to work the mind and to understand how it's chemically forming. And these are important. This is why I know it works, because even as you grow up, you start to put yourself into circumstances, situations, crises that the people say you're in, and then you have to focus on, what do I need to do next? Well, in this stay at home, what do we do? I know people are struggling. I know people are struggling with passing of the deaths. I know people are struggling with the finances that's going on. That's putting you into these words: crisis, situation, circumstance. That's going to trigger different chemical releases in the brain for you not to see things rationally. So, don't we need cortisol to help with? No, we don't need cortisol to help with crisis. And the reason why and this is why we have PTSD. And to answer the question, my wife had asked to answer. Like I said, if you have any questions, you can put it here on YouTube Live, Instagram Live, or Facebook Live, and or my inbox here on Dr. Paul W. Dyer Gmail. The reason why you don't want to use cortisol in a crisis is because it develops PTSD, because you're going back on muscle memory or functionality of what you know you can do. And that takes a place that removes the heart action. If you don't have connected between your heart and your mind, and you're only working part of your brain and your muscle, then you're forgetting things that once happened to you. And being an ex-service person and doing multiple different things, you want to keep your frontal lobe more active so you recognize the situation, the crisis you're in, so you can have cognition of thought and process. If you don't change how crisis is affecting your hippocampus, which does produce cortisol, which does block out the frontal and the temporal lobe and the actions and its rationality, then you do fall back into the amygdala, and then that goes back into just muscle memory and things that you just want to do. And that's not where we want to live our life. We don't want to live our life where it's always reactionary on something that we once done that we know we can do. So if you go back into fight or flight and going back into animalistic behavior, right? The mammalian brain. And the mammalian brain is shelter, right? What are some of the key things that we are looking for? Shelter, safety, and food, right? If you only work in that situation, you're never going to move forward. Life isn't just about surviving, which is shelter, food, safety. Those are survival techniques. We want to learn how to live. And living takes practice, training, and faith. Those 3 things. There are more. And I was talking about this as being a warrior. To live, you will cover shelter, safety, and food. To live. Breathing takes life. People don't naturally learn how to breathe. Breathing into a natural breathing state. Most people aren't active breathers. And even James Locke, another 17th, 18th century scientist who was taught the thinking matter. The thinking matter is produced by oxygen, which is funny because Joseph Priestley was the scientist who discovered oxygen. Well, he was known to discover oxygen. and then put it in, and then he went into linguistics, and then he formulated how thought process changes the oxygenated level in the body. It was, but even James Locke, who also said the thinking matter decreases if oxygen decreases. So if you're not living and functionally actively living and breathing, then you decrease the active of living, and then now you're moving into survival. Your brain is going. That's why it's called the monkey mind, the confused ball of yarn. Your mind has been trying to protect you for such a long time, just on survival. To be a living, active participant, you have to practice, train, and have faith. The adrenal gland. Cortisol is just, it shouldn't, you need it, but it might change if it's near cortisol. It's yeah, we're trying to remove the overproduction of cortisol. Okay, there's what you call an overproduction of cortisol that you don't want to happen, and that's really where the conversation kind of goes there. Not that you won't have any or any at all, but you definitely have to have some. But if he starts overproducing, then this gets all blacked out of the hippocampus, right? So, and that's where we want to keep you more frontal, okay? Do you have any questions? Again, I hope you got your meditation in. I hope you got your exercises in. That helps with keeping your life more focused forward. Starting Monday, we're going to go over the wise mind. Remember, you can always catch some of my podcasts on iHeart and iTunes Radio, on Bridges Live with Dr. Paul. If you guys want to come on and join with me and do some live casting to help with the conversation, because with the healthy mind and understanding where these words are coming from, understanding what your historical words are, it's going to help you live. Get yourself out of survival mode. Get yourself out of, once you get pushed into a corner. You know, as martial artists, we develop in all these lines of practice all through what we teach and train. And the living sciences covers everything, whether it be the yoga, whether it be any self-healing, is understanding how its effect and how it heals throughout the body. And that is the light that you want. That is the light that you have inside. Like I was saying earlier, who just coming on, go back, you talk about the car, it goes on empty, a light comes on. Well, you have a light that comes on. And if you don't recognize your light, if you don't understand your light, then you are just, who's running who? You have the puppet, and you have the puppet master, and then you have the strings. What are you in that analogy? Are you the puppet master? Are you the puppet? Or are you the strings? Because you need all three. And it's been argued for a long time about in languages how words affect us, and words have affected us. That's why they use certain words in certain news stories, or when people giving certain speeches. Even Gandhi had said that anyone who's trying to speak to move you is a form of abuse. So I agree with that. Understand how you're being moved by something. I hope this is more educational than moving, because I want you to go, man, Dr. Paul said this. Let me go read this. Let me go figure out. This is about you figuring out. You know, Buddha says that our lives is supposed to be a scientific research for ourselves. And then Christ says, I'm the light within inside you. So understanding all these processes and what we can do to shine who we are. And if we don't learn how we are functioning with the healthy mind, and in this point, the rational mind, then how can we be kind? How can we care? How can we love? How can we help others if we don't know that ourselves need help? Whether it be, suicide's a high production for young kids. But I'm not going to get into that. I want to say thank you for waking up with me at 7 a.m. Healthy Mind with Dr. Paul. again, thank you for your comments when you email me or inbox me throughout the day. Dr. Paul W. Dyer at gmail.com. You can also reach my email at drpaulholisticscience.com, my website. Again, thank you so much. And we can do this. We can be better. So let us be safe, let us be kind, and let us be healthy. Okay? God bless.